Hello there, I'm Sabrina Zainal and thanks for joining me this Wednesday on 7Edition. The headlines. U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission says Dr. Sri Najib received bribes from 1MDB bonds. DBKL orders removal of controversial Sugarbook billboard ads. And second wave of floods in Kelantan claims its first fatality. We begin tonight's bulletin with this story. The floods in Kelantan claimed its first death this morning. 57-year-old Suhaimi Ismail, a retiree, drowned near his home in Kampung Renak near Jeli. The victim's wife had stepped out just before the ordeal.
Saya duduk beli barang tu, pada pukul 8 lebih, saya balik, orang main turut, suami akak hanyut deras air. Saya pergi tengok, dia mau pergi cari dengan puk, tak jumpa kan. Dalam pukul 9 lebih, saya jumpa sangkuk di pokok. Dia sangkuk tu memang tak ada dah.
Suhaimi was believed to have been trying to save his belongings and turn off his electricity supply after the water rose by 3 meters in his house. While wading in the water, he was believed to have suffered a cramp before drowning in the strong currents. The Fire and Rescue Department said his body was found by villagers some 200 meters from his house. The second wave of flooding in Kelantan saw more than 3,400 victims displaced from their homes as of 7 p.m. 5 districts were flooded, namely Tanah Merah, Pasir Putih, Kuala Krai, Machang and Jeli, with the highest number of flood victims at 1,840. In Johor, 2,827 victims were affected in 6 districts. The inundated districts are Batu Pahat, Kluang, Kota Tinggi, Segamat, Pontian and Mersing, which recorded the highest number of evacuees, with 857 in 9 relief centers. Over in Pahang, 1,080 people are affected and placed at 8 relief centers in 3 districts. Rompin had the highest number of victims at 829. In Sarawak, there was also flooding in Miri with 9 victims affected. Authorities in Terengganu are also preparing for possible flooding in 4 districts, Besut, Setiu, Hulu Terengganu and Dungun, as rain continues to drench the east coast. Now in Sarawak, a man was killed when the motorcycle he was riding skidded and crashed into a drain at Jalan Bakam in Miri today. The body of the victim was found by a member of the public who then alerted authorities at about 8 a.m. The victim, identified as 45-year-old Rashid Dan, was discovered with his head submerged in the drain water. He was pronounced dead at the scene by medical personnel, who arrived together with firefighters and policemen. The remains were brought to Miri Hospital for post-mortem. The cause of the accident is being investigated under the Road Transport Act. In other news, the parents of Nora Quarren are calling for an inquest into the death of their daughter after she was found dead in the jungles of Negeri Sembilan last August. Mabe and Sebastian Quarren believe there were criminal elements in the disappearance and the death of their daughter. In an interview with Ireland's national television and radio broadcaster RTE, the Quarrens said they are still awaiting the results of a second post-mortem on Nora conducted in London. While the post-mortem conducted in Malaysia revealed the cause of death as internal bleeding, probably caused by hunger and stress, they are hoping to get answers on how their daughter could have ended up in the jungles. A massive search and rescue operation was carried out for her over 10 days after she disappeared on August 3rd at the Dusun Resort in Seremban, Negeri Sembilan. Her naked body was eventually found in a ravine. Former Special Action Force UTK police officer Ossie Lahari has never been taken out of Kajang prison. This was confirmed by the prison's department in a statement issued today, adding that the individual who was convicted and sentenced to death over the murder of Mongolian model Altantuya Sharibu had not left the prison since April 15, 2015.
The statement further said that the last time Ossie was taken out of Kajang prison was on April 15, 2015, when he attended a trial at the Sepang Magistrates Court. Prison officials escorted him for the trial after they received the order from the court to produce him under Section 30 of the Prisons Act, which allows a prisoner to attend court at the time and place stated. Based on records since the date, Ossie was never allowed to leave the prison for any reason, and he only received visits from his family 34 times and 15 times by his lawyer since last year. The department also stressed that allegations that Ossie was brought out of the prison this year to meet a VVIP were not true. Earlier, Datuk Sri Najib Razak's lawyer, Tan Sri Muhammad Shafi'i Abdullah, had alleged that Ossie had been brought out from death row at Kajang prison in February to meet a VVIP. He also told the media that he believed there was a coordinated political assassination plot against his client. A few days ago, it was reported that Ossie had made public a statutory declaration claiming that the former premier ordered him to kill Altantuya in 2006 when the Pukan MP was the then Deputy Prime Minister. Ossie also alleged that Datuk Sri Najib had ordered him to shoot to kill Altantuya as she was a dangerous foreign spy, which the ex-PM had strongly denied. The statutory declaration, dated October 17th, was made as part of his application to review his conviction and death sentence for the murder, which will be heard by the federal court on April 20th next year.
Meanwhile, the United States Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, revealed today that former Prime Minister Datuk Sri Najib Razak was one of the recipients of kickbacks from bonds raised for 1MDB. It was revealed during a cease and desist order in proceedings against former Goldman Sachs executive Tim Leissner.
In the order, SEC said out of the $6.5 billion raised by the 3 bond transactions for 1MDB, Leissner and others instead executed a scheme to misappropriate more than $2.7 billion and distribute the money as kickbacks to government officials in Malaysia, including to Datuk Sri Najib and to Leissner. Parts of the kickback money had also gone to officials in Abu Dhabi and the families of the participants in the scheme. SEC also claims that Leissner knew that Datuk Sri Najib would be receiving money from Project Maximus, the code name for one of the bond financing transactions. The money had passed through various shell companies owned and controlled by Leissner, Low Tech Joe, also known as Joe Low, and others. The U.S. Department of Justice, DOJ, is also claiming that Datuk Sri Najib received $30 million under the Project Maximus phase. Previously, the DOJ also claimed that Datuk Sri Najib received an additional $681 million from Project Catalyze, the code name for another bond financing transaction.
LED billboard advertisements belonging to a dating app called Sugarbook have now been instructed to be removed. This as the content of the advertisements displayed on the structure did not receive the approval of the Kuala Lumpur City Hall DBKL. Now, DBKL's Corporate Planning Department Media Unit in a statement said the Sugarbook electronic advertisements put up in Bangsar and Bukit Kiara were deemed by many as lewd and inappropriate, and investigation found that the Federal Territories Foundation, YWP, which holds the license for the advertisement structure, was not informed on the controversial adverts by outdoor advertising company Out of Home as the billboard operator. Photos of the billboard advertisements have gone viral on social media, with many voicing concern on the nature of Sugarbook's business. YWP in a statement said it has called up the billboard operator and issued a warning and show cause letter to the company today. Checks by YWP also found that the digital ads were no longer displayed. Meanwhile, Sugarbook founder and Chief Executive Officer Darren Chan has denied that the women using the dating platform known as Sugar Babies are illegal sex workers. He also believes that it is unfair to call for the app to be banned in Malaysia. On its website, Sugarbook described itself as a social networking platform that helps build beneficial relationships with our society's elite. Now, the events leading up to the KL Summit 2019 kicked off today with an event that discussed youth issues. The Youth KL Summit 2019 will be the first in the program of the summit, which will gather Muslim leaders, intellectuals and scholars as a platform to identify the problems afflicting the Muslim world and to find solutions to them. It kicked off with a dialogue on 6 clusters aiming to strengthen the well-being of youth in the education sector, drive the digital economy and also adapting the challenges of Industrial Revolution 4.0. Our reporter Azrina Amir Hamza has the details.
I am currently with delegates from 56 countries, namely Syria, Palestine, Macedonia and Morocco, just to name a few, for the Youth KL Summit 2019. The theme for this year is Youth Empowerment in Facing Global Challenges, to be the drive for the discussion that they had yesterday. Resolutions submitted at the Youth Kuala Lumpur KL Summit, a prelude to the KL Summit, will be presented to Prime Minister Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad tomorrow. KL Summit Advisory Board member Datuk Sri Mustafa Mohamad, who received the documents earlier this morning, said efforts will be focused on ensuring that recommendations made by the youth delegates and it would be implemented effectively and efficiently. On his role at the summit, Mustafa said he would be responsible for putting memoranda of understanding MOU together, involving business-to-business collaborations as well as those between governments. All in all, the Youth Summit provided a platform to learn about opportunities for the younger generation to contribute to the growth of the Ummah and Islamic nations. The Youth KL Summit, which comes to an end today, is organised as a lead-up to the main KL Summit, which is held from today until Saturday. That's all I can share for now. Thank you. I'm Izrina Amir Hamza for 7Edition.
Meanwhile, Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has arrived in Malaysia to attend the KL Summit 2019, which intends to address issues of concern to Muslims and the Muslim world. The special aircraft carrying the president landed at the Kuala Lumpur International Airport at 1:30 p.m. today. On hand to welcome the Turkish president was Health Minister Datuk Sri Dr. Zulkifli Ahmad. Erdogan will be joining Prime Minister Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad, who is also the KL Summit chairman, and a number of other Muslim leaders at the gathering, including Iranian President Hassan Rouhani, who arrived in Kuala Lumpur last night. The conference, taking place today until Saturday, also brings together intellectuals, scholars, as well as thinkers, and aims to deliberate and find new workable solutions to problems afflicting the Muslim world.
Coming up next, dog with rotten leg goes viral. The details after the break. We're back with foreign news. The House of Representatives is set to impeach an elected president accused of violating the nation's trust and his oath to preserve, protect and defend bedrock constitutional values. Donald Trump will be only the 3rd president in 240 years to be impeached, the ultimate trauma for the system of checks and balances, which will unleash fury that will boil for years.
The 45th president will be charged by the House Democratic majority with 2 articles of impeachment, namely abusing his power and obstructing Congress in a scheme to lure Ukraine into interfering in the 2020 election. But when the House votes to impeach Trump, a fateful step expected at some point Wednesday, it may become clear that this is also a somber moment of national political tragedy. After all, the House Democrats, who won a majority in the midterm elections on a mandate of curtailing Trump, will be making a rare statement that a president elected just 3 years ago should be forced from office. Trump raged into his day of historic shame unrepentant after saying he takes zero responsibility for impeachment and feeling persecuted. He unleashed a fearsome attack on House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and the other Democrats in an extraordinary letter that expressed something like despair about the fate of his legacy.
Next, India's Supreme Court turned down a plea on Wednesday to stop the implementation of a new citizenship law based on religion that has set off violent protests in the country. However, the court said that it would hold hearings next month on the sweeping measure. The Citizenship Amendment Act, CAA, makes it easier for non-Muslims from the neighboring countries of Afghanistan, Bangladesh and Pakistan who settled in India prior to 2015 to gain Indian citizenship. Thousands of people have protested, saying the law is anti-Muslim, and the latest in a series of measures by Prime Minister Narendra Modi's Hindu nationalist government to marginalize the community. Modi's government says the law was intended to address the persecution of minorities such as Hindus, Sikhs and Christians in the Muslim-majority countries of Pakistan, Afghanistan and Bangladesh. In the meantime, a Japanese court ordered a high-profile TV reporter to pay 3.3 million yen in damages to a journalist who accused him of rape. Shiori Ito alleged that Noriyuki Yamaguchi raped her in 2015 while she was unconscious. Prosecutors said there was not enough evidence for a criminal case, so Ito brought a civil case.
Ito became a symbol of the #MeToo movement in a country where people rarely report sexual assault. According to Ito, 53-year-old Yamaguchi, who is said to have close ties to Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, invited her to dinner to discuss a possible job opportunity in 2015. She suspects she may have been drugged, saying that when she regained consciousness, she was in a hotel room and he was on top of her. Ito was an intern at a news agency when the alleged rape occurred. Yamaguchi was then Washington bureau chief for the Tokyo Broadcasting System, a major media firm in Japan. Investigations were opened, but then dropped by police, citing insufficient evidence. Ito said police forced her to reenact the alleged rape with a life-size doll while male officers looked on. A 2017 government survey found that only 4% of rape victims reported the crime to the police.
It's time for Clickbait, where we take a look at what's trending and making the rounds in the cyber world today. Recently, a Facebook video uploaded by netizen Amalina Mazlan of a dog limping with just 3 legs went viral. In this heartbreaking video, one of the dog's legs appears to have been completely severed down to the bone. The video garnered over 400,000 views and caught the eye of a number of animal activist groups locally. Now, viewer discretion is advised. Take a look.
It can be seen in the video that someone had cruelly tied what appears to be metal wire around the dog's leg, which, as you can probably tell, did not do much good. What's worse is that, as it turns out, this dog is a mother to 4 newborn puppies and has to fend for them despite having 1 less leg. Thankfully, after the video went viral, a good-hearted netizen, Mandy Yup, found the dog. Mandy, along with 2 other volunteers, brought the mother dog and her puppies to a proper veterinary clinic to receive an emergency treatment. The dog's leg has been amputated, as what is left of the leg is just bones. Another netizen, Elaine, has since posted an update that the mother dog is currently recovering and they are waiting for her condition to improve. As for her puppies, they are being tended to and fed to ensure that they remain healthy. Let's hope this mother dog recovers well.
Now updated as of 7 p.m., here are the top trending topics and searches on the internet today. When we return, PNB announces lowest dividend in history. Stay with us for more. Thanks for staying with us. Permodalan Nasional Berhad PNB announced an income distribution of 5 sen per unit and a bonus of 0.5 sen for Amanah Saham Bumiputra ASB for 2019. This was announced despite a 7.2% contraction in Bursa Malaysia's FBM KLCI year to date. Chairman Tan Sri Zeti Akhtar Aziz said this will involve a total payout of 9 billion ringgit to more than 10 million unit holders. Now, PNB also declared an income distribution of 2.75 sen per unit for Amanah Saham Nasional ASN for the financial year 2019, with a total payout of 49 million ringgit, benefiting 1.22 million unit holders. The transactions for ASB and ASN have been temporarily suspended from December 18, 2019 to January 1, 2020. Unit holders may check and update their accounts on January 2, 2020. Moving on, French carmaker PSA and US-Italian rival Fiat Chrysler have signed an agreement to create the world's fourth largest automaker. In a joint statement on Wednesday, the carmakers said they signed a $50 billion binding accord for a 50-50 merger of their businesses. The two auto firms have not yet decided on the name for their new company, but assured there would be no plant closures from the transaction. The combined group will have a workforce of more than 400,000, total revenues of $190 million, and annual unit sales of some 8.7 million vehicles of brands like Fiat, Alfa Romeo, Chrysler, Jeep, and Maserati, among others. The merger was expected to be completed in 12 to 15 months. Bursa Malaysia closed at its intraday high today as financial counters jumped at the 11th hour, pushing the index to close at its highest so far this week. FBM KLCI rose 1.4% to close at 1,599.11. Now on to stocks to watch. MISC Berhad plans to meet IMO 2020 guidelines using a portfolio approach of 3 strategies. Analysts expect limited impact on MISC from this implementation, as cost of compliance can be passed through to charterers. CGSCIMB's SOP already reflects 4 billion ringgit of contract wins, while MISC has so far won 1.2 billion ringgit. Next and last on the list, Top Glove Corporation Berhad's results were above consensus expectations due to low tax rate. Now, sequential earnings could be slightly lower due to the rising latex cost. Some of the latex powdered lines have been converted to nitrile powdered lines. Coupled with the new capacity, nitrile is now its biggest revenue contributor. I'm Sabrina Zainal. Thanks for tuning in and see you next time. Good night.